Imagine this, a heated courtroom. Merchants argue over a shipment of grain. A farmer accuses his neighbor of stealing irrigation water, and a widow fights for her share of inheritance. The judge stands before the towering black stone, its surface covered with inscriptions and cuneiform, where laws are carved. And this is not by chance but the decree of one man. This is in ancient Babylon, and the man is Hammurabi. What if I tell you that the very concept of rule of law, the framework of our modern justice system that govern our lives today, began almost 4,000 years ago? That before the Magna Carta or any form of our modern constitutions. There was a king in ancient Mesopotamia who dared to redefine fairness. Hammurabi was just a king, but at the time, he was more than that. He was a visionary who took a chaotic world and gave it order. But who is this ruler actually? How did he rise to power? And what made his vision so groundbreaking that his name is still spoken in history? In today's video, we will explore Hammurabi's life, his revolutionary code of law, and enduring legacy. Along the way, we will uncover how his story reflects the challenges and triumphs of modern leaders. Let's begin where it all started, in the bustling city of Babylon, a rising star of the ancient world. Though the exact time is hard to verify, but it is said that exactly 3,835 years ago, Hammurabi was born into a royal family in Babylon. At the time, Babylon was just a small city-state, not the mighty empire it would later become. Growing up, Hammurabi would have learned about leadership and the struggles his people faced. The world he lived in wasn't peaceful. Neighboring kingdoms were always at war, fight for land, water, and power. Inside Babylon, there were also problems. The city needed strong leadership to survive. When Hammurabi's father died, he became the king. He was still young at the time, but he had big dreams for Babylon and the people. Though his early years as a king were tough, he had to deal with stronger enemies surrounding, like the powerful kingdom of Elam. He also had to make sure that his people had enough food and water. Instead of giving up, Hammurabi found clever ways to solve these problems. He made alliances with other cities and worked on improving Babylon's defense. In so many different ways, Hammurabi was like our modern leaders who take office during crisis. Like, think of presidents or prime ministers who must quickly deal with wars, economic troubles, or natural disasters. Hammurabi proved that he could lead under pressure, and this was just the beginning of his journey. In 1754 before Christ, Hammurabi did something that no one ever had done before. He created a set of laws, now which is called the Code of Hammurabi. These 282 laws were carved into a tall black stone for everyone to see. It wasn't just a list of rules, it was a guide for how people should live and treat each other. The very first example of rule of law in the history of the entire length of humankind. The code covered almost every aspect of life: trade, family, work, and even punishments for crime, and all of this. For example, one law said, if a man destroys the eyes of another man, they shall destroy his eyes. Yet this might sound harsh today, but back then it was a big step forward. Why? Because it made justice clear and predictable. Everyone knew the consequence of breaking the rules. Hammurabi's laws were also fair for his time. They didn't just protect the rich and powerful. These were the rules for farmers, traders, and even slaves. For example, there were laws to stop landlords from charging too much rent or merchants from cheating their customers. This helped build the trust in the society. Think about it, we still depend on laws to create order and protect fairness. Imagine what life would be like without speeding limits, taxes, or contracts. And Hammurabi's code was the first step forward the system we use today. In fact, some ideas from his code, like innocence until proven guilty, are still a part of modern law. Yet there are some criticism, like Hammurabi's code wasn't perfect. Some punishments were very harsh, and the laws treated people differently based on their social class and status. For example, if a rich person hurts a poor person, the punishment wasn't as severe as if the roles were reversed. But even with these flaws, the Code of Hammurabi showed how laws could bring order to chaos. This code wasn't just about his rules. It was about showing people the king cared about their fairness and justice. It also showed his power. By carving his laws in the stone, Hammurabi sent a clear message. This is the law and it cannot be changed, and everyone must follow this, even the king himself. It was so revolutionary at the time that the Code of Hammurabi influenced many other cultures that came after, including the ancient Greeks and Romans. It was one of the first time in history that laws were written down for everyone to see, not just kept by the judge or rulers or the king's will. This changed how people understood justice forever. Considering all this, Hammurabi wasn't just a lawmaker. He was also a brilliant military leader. During his rule, he faced threats from all sides. Mesopotamia was full of powerful city-states like Larsa, Mari, and Assyria, each fighting for control of land and resources. Hammurabi knew that if Babylon was going to survive, he needed to think strategically. Instead of rushing into battles, Hammurabi started with alliances. He made peace agreements with other cities and built trust. But he didn't stop there. He used those alliances to weaken his enemies. When the time was right, he broke the agreement and attacked. It might seem ruthless, but it was a smart way to strengthen Babylon. One of his biggest victories came when he defeated the kingdom of Larsa. Doing this, Hammurabi gained control of the region's most valuable resources, that is, water from the Euphrates River. This was a game changer. Controlling the water meant controlling agriculture, trade, and power in the whole length of Mesopotamia. Hammurabi also showed his skills as a leader by uniting the cities he conquered. Instead of just ruling with fear, he used his laws to bring order and fairness. This made people in these cities even more loyal to him. In many ways, Hammurabi's strategies were similar to those of modern political leaders. Think of leaders who use diplomacy to build alliances before making bold moves. Hammurabi proved that a mix of strategy, patience, and decisive actions could turn a small city into a powerful empire. Coming back to the code of laws again, Hammurabi's code wasn't just a set of rules for the ancient Babylon. It was a revolutionary idea that shaped how societies would think about laws for centuries. Before his time, laws were often unwritten and enforced based on rulers' personal judgment or his own will and interests, which undoubtedly created confusion and unfairness. Hammurabi changed all that by carving his laws into stones for everyone to see and follow, creating one of the first recorded legal framework of rule of law. The code initiated key principles that are still part of our modern legal system. For instance, the idea of proportional justice, punishments fitting the crime, is something we see today. While the code's eye for an eye approach may seem extreme now, It emphasized fairness and accountability. This was groundbreaking in a world where might was right. Another important contribution was the concept of transparency. Publishing the laws, Hammurabi made justice accessible for everyone, not just for the elites. Even the peasants could follow his rules. The idea of laws being public and applying to all citizens influenced later legal systems, such as Roman law and the modern constitutions. Today, it's the foundation of modern democracies. Laws must be clear, written, and available to everyone. Those codes also laid the groundwork for contracts and economic regulations. Many of his laws dealt with trades, loans, and property rights, which helped create trust and stability in the economy. These ideas evolved into a complex system of contracts and business regulation that we rely on now. Perhaps most importantly, Hammurabi's emphasis on justice influenced the philosophy of governance itself. His beliefs that a ruler should create laws to protect people, not just to control them, was a major step forward. This idea that government exists to serve people echoes in the modern constitutions and legal framework worldwide. As a result of that, from the constitutions to the United Nations declarations, we can see echoes of Hammurabi's vision even after 4,000 years. His code provided that laws could create order, fairness, and trust, a lesson that has guided civilizations for nearly 4,000 years. Now let's talk about this great man's legacy. His impact didn't end with his death. His rules transformed Babylon into a powerful empire, and his legacy lasted far beyond his lifetime. The code he initiated became a model for future civilizations. Even centuries later, rulers and scholars studied it as an example of good governance. Not just that, under Hammurabi, Babylon became the heart of Mesopotamia. The city thrived with trade, art, and culture. It was a place where people from different backgrounds came together and united under one set of laws. This sense of order and unity helped Babylon grow into one of the most famous cities in the history. Hammurabi's story is a reminder of how one leader's vision can shape the world. His code of laws set the foundation for justice and fairness, ideas that continue to guide societies today. From ancient Babylon to modern courtrooms, his influence is everywhere. Think about how much we depend on laws to keep life organized and fair. The concept of innocence until proven guilty, the importance of accountability, and the idea that no one is above the law. All those ideas trace back to Hammurabi's time. Not just that, his leadership also offers lessons for modern rulers. Like him, today leaders must find a way to bring people together, solve problems together, and create a legacy that lasts longer than a generation. Whether it's through diplomacy, laws, or innovation, this story shows that true leadership stands the test of time.